I started to play drums because it was the forbidden fruit. My parents said no until they absolutely couldn't hold off anymore. I just nagged them until they let me start taking lessons. The first kit I got was a Pearl four-room that my dad bought for about $300, I think. Initially, I started similar to where I've ended up now, which is quite minimal. Then I started listening to Tool and Primus, and so I bought a double kick pedal, I had a splash, I had a china, I had all the accoutrements. When I really started playing in bands, I was listening to a lot of that kind of music, and more was definitely more. Whereas now, the less drums I have to put together and think about and tune, the better. I think the more I can focus on being creative and coming up with something that doesn't rely on certain pieces of gear. It's more about how you're expressing yourself. These days I'm liking the sound of smaller kits, like the one I'm using right now, which I recorded with a lot. Goes really well with a lot of the more electronic elements that we have in our music and that I'm kind of attracted to. So really focused, tight, smaller sounds that have the ability to sound quite jazzy. I think there's a strange versatility to jazz kits that I didn't realise till I actually bought a few of them. Once you tighten a bigger drum, it kind of loses a little bit of its edge or something. I started doing a lot of sessions where people had smaller Ludwig jazz kits or Slingerland jazz kits and kind of just turned me onto that world. I discovered Istanbul Cymbals 6 years ago now through this wonderful musician, Josh Klinghoffer. He had them in his studio and I think we recorded some of the full in his studio. I started experimenting a lot more with the sizes of cymbals and found that I felt most comfortable with a really dry, large sounding cymbal. So I could get some insane decay off it, but also it could be quite controlled if I wanted to. So just basically all I go for is versatility. I like to put two crash cymbals together and use them as hi-hats because it kind of just takes off that annoying high-end vibe. Well, live I tend to use the SPDS and I do write a lot of parts and patterns on the SPDS. So have like a typical 808 sound or a 909 sound or samples that I've brought into the machine that I can actually play as I would play the drum kit. This is the Roland TR606, which is kind of the classic acid house sound, and this was paired with the 303. It's pretty much the birth of acid. This machine will just give you exactly what you ask it, and it's very regimented. You know what you're going to get, there's not a lot of swing to it, whereas when you program an unquantized beat on an MPC or something like that, it just feels like there's someone playing the part, you know? Or if they sample a funk break or something, then it has a life to it that you can't really replicate with a machine. Electronic music feels less niche than it used to, but I think there's still a huge separation between playing instruments and programming drums. And I think what's really exciting is bridging that gap, so they're not two different camps. I do one of two things. I play electronic sounds as a human, which I am, or I program something on a drum machine and try and replicate it on the drum kit. It's going to come out sounding nothing like the actual drum machine, you know, and the tones will be different as well. It's exciting trying to be a machine. I mean, I've never wanted to sound a certain way or whatever. It's always been a combination of who I've played with, what records I've made with people, what they've taught me about music in general, and also about my approach, which I didn't know about. I get to uncover all those things while I'm on the job, which is really exciting.